This is a download from BFM 89.9, the business station.
This is Resource Center on Enterprise, and I'm Lim Soon Heng. In business, size often matters. And today, Dr. Raymond Madden, CEO of Asian Institute of Finance, is here to give us some pointers how SMEs can attract and retain their best talents in the face of competition from larger companies, especially MNCs that have the muscles to flex and resources to attract. Welcome. SMEs versus MNCs and large national conglomerates. Is this a David versus Goliath situation where David isn't going to win?
Well, I think there are definitely differences. And actually, I think in some ways SMEs have the edge. They're small, they're nimble, they're attractive, they can create jobs around the individual, particularly at the SME level. And
why do you say that? I would think that SMEs, because they are small, they have less positions.
Well, they may have less positions as regards numbers, but I think as breadth of a position of a role within an SME, they can be really interesting. It's a real opportunity to create a portfolio of your own. The challenge for big organizations is they have very strong structures and organizational processes, and that can sometimes restrict individuals or people who want to be sort of more broader in their approach. So I think there's a real opportunity for SMEs.
So how much does size matter in the creation of an attractive company?
Well, I think you've got to have critical mass. And if you're going in as a specialist, I think it's important to look at whether you're going to build the opportunity, whether you're joining an existing team. And I think there's some very interesting things that you can look for. And it's about scope and scale of the type of role that you will have, even if it's in a small organization. At AIF, we believe very strongly in what we call the 3 E's: engage, empower, and enrich. And those things apply to actual multinationals, but also, in fact, more importantly, to SMEs.
I want to drill down at some point in our discussion that and how do you do it so that you become, in a sense, an employer of choice. But without going very much into what SMEs can do to attract and retain, what are some innate attributes of smallness that makes SMEs desirable?
Well, I think it's about telling a story, whatever size of company you are. But for an SME, you have the opportunity to tell a very specific story that relates to the market or the people that you want to attract. And that's about your vision, what you're trying to achieve, whether you're in this market to beat a competitor, maybe even a big boy, or whether you actually are trying to create a unique service in the marketplace that actually hasn't been done by anybody else. And therefore that story is key to you attracting and retaining the type of people that you're looking for.
I know, I guess in this context, SMEs might not be very good at telling their stories.
Yeah, I think they are less used to it than, say, bigger organizations. But actually, the internet has created a huge level playing field. I mean, just think of things that are very simple or easy or even free to do. Testimonials from customers, testimonials from actual employees, an apprenticeship scheme which allows you to attract raw talent who are young, who are often less costly to employ, and to build up capability within your organization. Research shows that apprentices that join an organization are much more loyal than people that you buy in at a more senior level.
Before we can get these young people or get these new employees into employment with the company, you need to somehow reach out to them. They need to know about you. How do you instill the perception that you might be an SME, you might be small, but that small is beautiful? How do you get it out there? How do you engage the young people out there and say, look, I am small, but I'm beautiful?
Well, it's about publicizing your success. And the advantage of social media and the advantage of people who are very well networked is that you can use that. You know, you want to be higher on a Google search. You want to have LinkedIn and Facebook pages. And these don't come naturally to organizations. You know, they're into a service or a product. But actually, what people want to see a vibrant environment. And I think that the fact that people can like or share what you're doing means that essentially you create, sticky customers, but potentially sticky employees. And I think social media has really helped SMEs in the marketplace.
It strikes me that in terms of attracting the kind of talent you want, you have to be good at branding yourself.
Oh yeah, brand is everything. I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, that's what Facebook is. It's your personal brand. And why wouldn't organizations want to do exactly the same? It allows you to distinguish yourself from others, to say something very specific to everybody. I mean, the fact that you can use Facebook to actually get friends is really, really powerful. And people use that to actually network and build their businesses. Don't forget, behind employees, and it's the golden 6 times rule, there are 6 friends or 6 associates that if you're working at some organization, they tell their friends who tell their friends, and then you build on that success.
But more often than not, though, SMEs don't think about branding. They just think about, okay, I need to fill this position to get my work done so I can get to sell this product or to sell this service.
That's true, but I think you've got to step back at times, and I think that's the role of the CEOs and the senior division leaders who say, it's not about being on the hamster wheel of just going round and round and round. It's about looking further, looking out 3 years to how your business is going to look, how you're going to grow. I mean, only today there's an article in the newspaper about joint ventures. A friend of mine runs a burger joint in Singapore. And, that's a low margin business. It's very competitive. You've got big boys in the marketplace. And what he's created is a very distinctive approach. The stores look different. They're in a good location, but they look very different. And what he's done in order to attract very good people is to give partnership. So he gives away a certain element of the business, and then you grow together. And he's grown a few franchises actually in the marketplace and is doing very successful. And the wonderful thing is he's very passionate about it.
Let's talk about how, after you've attracted these employees into your company, what do you do to retain them? Dr. Raymond Madden, CEO, Asian Institute of Finance. We're talking about the challenges that SMEs have attracting talent. And when the perception is that the larger companies and MSCs can offer better opportunities and remuneration packages, some things need to be done. Now, once you've attracted them, what to do about retention. This is Resource Center on Enterprise, BFM 89.9, the business station. You're listening to Resource Center on Enterprise, and I'm Lim Soon Heng, and I'm talking to Dr. Raymond Madden, CEO of Asian Institute of Finance. We're talking about attracting and retaining the best talent in the company. Which is easier, attract or retain?
Well, actually, I think if you do it well, both are easy, but I would think
you do it easy.
Retention is actually slightly easier. And I say that because if you can get the proposition right to the individual, that he or she feels some emotional attachment to the organization and to you as a boss, chances are they will stay. I mean, just think back to your own career. People leave organizations because of their bosses, not necessarily because of the name on the door. And I think that's very real in that sense. So actually retaining people is about going through the journey with them, allowing them to realize some of their ambitions, some of the things that they'd like to do, some of the places, the type of work they'd like to go, the places they'd like to go. And as businesses evolve, that's a real opportunity, both for your organization to develop and to expand, but also for the individual. And I think relating it to the individual, so induction, the day you start, it should be about your individual, the individual person, not that this is our standardized induction like a sausage machine, everyone goes through the same. What would you like to learn about this organization? We'll give you and share with you the things that we do, but what would you like to learn?
Maybe this is where the smaller SMEs can be in a position to be better. Because with large companies, they usually have like big groups of people coming in, and then they have before you go into work the first day, you have to spend like a week at some kind of a camp where you have an introduction to the company.
Yeah, I mean, large organizations offer more standardized approaches. It's more cost effective and they have bigger volumes of people. But if you're an SME and you've only got 2 people starting on a day, you can afford to be very flexible. Going around meeting people, being introduced to people that matter, actually is probably much more impactful than sitting in a classroom and listening to someone talk for an hour. So I think that personalized approach is really the way that SMEs have a real benefit in the marketplace.
Sometimes it is this whole notion of like bringing somebody on board and then just kind of doing a hi, so this is so and that kind of introduction, and then straight away getting them to work is actually the wrong thing.
Yeah, I think you've got to engage people in the whole process, because at the time they join you in their first weeks, they're so hungry and eager to learn. They want to know what's going on, who are the people, who are the players, what are the networks, what do people do after work, what sort of interests do people have, and they're looking for that. And unless you sort of offer that, and you don't have to offer it explicitly, but it has to be made available, then people then start to turn off and think, well, I can socialize with my other friends in my old organization. And just think back, when you move organization, the first week is like really lonely. You don't know many people, and you still network with your old friends from the old organization. And as you mature in that organization, you have more and more friends, it becomes more sociable, and it becomes more part of your life.
So in terms of engaging with these new employees, what should be done to bring them into the fold? You have your induction, but on an ongoing basis.
Well, I think a mentor or a coach in the organization is always very helpful. It allows people the opportunity to say things they might not say in a formal meeting. And it also allows you to sort of check development, check their interest, and check the sort of things that they would like to do. Because I think people, when they join an organization, come with a particular idea, they've got a particular job, but they see the organization doing different things, they'd like to grow with it, and why not?
And they need to understand the culture, and you need somebody to help them through this culture.
Yeah, but culture is both a help and a hindrance. I mean, a great culture is great. People join Google because of the culture, but it's not for everybody. You can create a culture within a small organization because it's about the individuals. So the fact that everyone has a say, that's a culture. The fact that when you get together, you all wear the same T-shirt, that's part of cultural association and being part of the family. Those simple things allow people to feel part of it rather than sit on the sidelines.
So once you can identify somebody as perhaps this person has potential leadership, what can be done to kind of nurture that so that this person stays with you?
Yeah, well, the question on leadership is, are you explicit? Do you tell them? Or do you keep that from them but put them through personal development that is implicit in them becoming a future leader? And I think the jury's out on that. Some people like to give the transparency and say, we've identified you, Sun Hing, you're a potential leader, we now need you to put you through a process. But that puts pressure on the individual, and that can turn off some other people in the organization who actually would like to be a leader as well, but for some reason are not right at that particular point in time. So I think you should offer general development. Certain people should be given access to particular development opportunities. And again, that may come down to coaching. That doesn't mean to say that everybody needs to go to a top-notch business school in the United States.
Earlier you mentioned this idea too that, with smaller companies, you can create work around that person. Elaborate that for me, please.
Yeah, I mean, you come in to do a particular role, but actually you're quite good on the IT side. So why don't you work with the IT department to say you're working in customer sales and actually you're quite techie on that and you've got skills that you could use within the IT department. Why don't you create a link between customer service and IT? I mean, and that allows you to blossom. That allows you to work with the IT guys who may not be interested in customer sales or whatever and create, different opportunities.
But often you hire somebody to kind of fill a gap. So I hire somebody to do customer service and that person comes in and, okay, what, do I reassign this person? Do I recreate a job? Then I will still have my gaps then, though, won't I?
Well, if you hire to fill holes, you get round pegs and sometimes square pegs trying to fill round holes. I think you fill roles based on an individual set of skills that you want, but you allow a degree of competence that is outside that. I mean, we want rounded people. We want people with interests because we believe that benefits them at the workplace and benefits the social atmosphere. So if they've got a particular skill in something, why not let them shine and let them build around that? That's not to say they shouldn't do their day job, but people are normally more broader than we think they are. I mean, it's very interesting when you hold, end-of-year parties, and then you suddenly realize that some of them are great karaoke singers and have, dancing skills that you never even thought of. Now, if that's on a social level, what other skills might they have on a professional level that you can use?
I guess in companies you have your departments and you have people working, and there's a tendency to kind of silo people. And as a result of that, if you make one change, it creates a kind of a domino effect.
Yeah, I think
and that can create inefficiencies within at least from one perspective, inefficiencies within the company.
Well, it's interesting you talk about silos, because one of the challenges for all organizations is silos. And everyone thinks that by putting all the experts together, that everything will benefit. And what do you see? You see a lack of communication between one silo and another. So yes, you want specialists, you want subject matter experts, but you actually want people to see the bigger picture. The picture of your organization as a whole. That way they grow as individuals, and that way your business grows. And it's very easy to watch very siloed thinking. It is actually the real challenge that faces many organizations at the moment. If you talk to leaders who run big divisions, they say the problem for us is we don't have people who can go outside and talk to our neighboring divisions or our colleagues. And IT, sales, marketing, subject matter expertise, they're classical domains that remain very siloed, and I think hold a lot of companies back.
I see in larger companies what they do with their graduate trainees is that they kind of move them around so that they know the organization. On the whole, SMEs don't seem to do that, I believe. Well, it's something that they can adopt.
They will typically take on less people, so there's less potential there. But the reason why large organizations move graduates is because that's putting the square pegs into the round holes and trying to fit the shape. You can do that within an SME much more easily. It doesn't have to be so formal. I mean, just every 3 or 4 months, you get an opportunity to work with an additional person in the team. I mean, it doesn't have to be a grandiose scheme that's called something with a name on the door, but actually, it allows people to broaden and to find where they'd really like to work. Sometimes you don't know what you like doing at work. I mean, your dad tells you you're good at maths, so you should go and be an accountant. But actually, I've met people in project management who really want to move into marketing because they find it glitzy and more glamorous and more interesting. And then you see some people who are really, got IT skills, and if they can be broadened in their scope, they can really help leave an operations department, for example, and put IT processes into HR or into admin.
Summarize for us, Dr. Madden, as we come to the end of the show. To attract and retain employees, what do SMEs need to do?
We believe at AIF it's about engagement, empowerment, and enrichment. And if you have those 3 words at the back of your mind when you're setting up an organization, when you're talking to people that you might want to recruit, when the people that you've got who have been in your organization less than 6 months, those are the way to attract the best, develop them so that they're really at the full peak of their performance, and that they'll enthuse, engage, and create the culture that you want to have.
Dr. Raymond Madden, CEO, Asian Institute of Finance. Next week, Dr. Madden and I will discuss mentoring and coaching. Thank you, Dr. Madden.